Financial Crimes Commission has uncovered an additional $72 million.
All companies were vetted carefully. The properties recovered were worth about $80 million.
It was 2015, and the Nigerian people have just elected a prophet of change to the highest office in the land. Change. See what I mean? Anyways, so this election was celebrated in some sections of the country as a win for the Nigerian people. But elsewhere in the same country, boots were getting on the ground, ready to flee with the next available flight. You see, the period between 2011 and 2015 had been a very lucrative one for some highly placed people in the Nigerian government. Business was so good that a certain minister was allegedly collecting $300,000 as bribe per oil contract, and this money was reportedly being used to fund the re-election bid of former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan. People with ties to the government were also having a great time. They had acquired properties abroad worth hundreds of millions of dollars, purchased international passports, and some even obtained citizenship of other countries. A certain oil and aviation mogul was able to secure dozens of luxury houses in the United States worth millions of dollars, spending around $70 million in a single purchase of 4 high-class properties in Santa Barbara and Beverly Hills, 58 luxury car collections, 3 private jets, 132 houses and apartments in Nigeria, and a land in Canada and Switzerland. Oh, and there's also a yacht, the infamous Galactica Star, a 65-meter private cruiser valued at $80 million by the US Justice Department. Now, the question the incoming administration was hell-bent on asking them was, how did they manage these feats? To make the work of the new administration easier, the FBI in 2015 had formed an international corruption squad to investigate national and international corruption. People who have information about proceeds of corruption located within the United States or laundered through the United States were advised to contact federal law enforcement at this website. Trust me, I visited the website, and this is what it looks like. A year on from that, and some 11.5 million documents were leaked by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists as part of what is now known as the Panama Papers. Discoveries from these documents and the FBI investigation that started in 2015 gave birth to what I now call the Diezani affairs, a scandal that allegedly robbed Nigeria of about $28 billion and counting. There are so many mysteries set to be unraveled in this declassified episode, so buckle up because it's going to be a wild ride. It all started with an anonymous message offering this guy access to secret data. This is Bastian Obermeier, a German journalist. In early 2015, he got access to a massive leak of documents from a Panamanian law firm, 𝗪𝗃_Fonseca. These documents revealed the offshore accounts and tax havens of some of the world's wealthiest and most powerful people. Among the thousands of names on the list was Diezani Alison-Madueke, Nigeria's former Minister of Petroleum Resources. Alison-Madueke served as Nigeria's oil minister from 2010 to 2015 and was one of the most powerful figures in the country's oil industry. She was also one of the most controversial, with critics accusing her of mismanaging the sector and using her position to enrich herself and her allies. The Panama Papers showed that Alison-Madueke and her allies had set up shell companies and offshore accounts with this Panamanian law firm, 𝗪𝗃_Fonseca, allegedly as part of a scheme to launder money. She was also implicated in a series of corruption scandals involving 2 Nigerian oil moguls and businessmen, their names Kola Aluko and Jude Omokore, both of whom were said to be close allies of the former minister. The leaked documents also revealed the extent of the ties between the former oil minister and her 2 associates. Both men were accused of using their connections to Alison-Madueke to secure lucrative contracts with the 𝗪𝗵𝗲, which they then used to siphon off millions of dollars. One of the most glaring examples of this corruption was the case of this luxury yacht, the 𝗪𝗪𝗂𝗧𝘂𝗪. An $80 million worth luxury yacht that was reportedly owned by Aluko. According to the US Department of Justice, this yacht that was once chartered by Beyonce and Jay-Z at $900,000 a week was bought with money that was siphoned off from the 𝗪𝗵𝗲 coffers. But despite the allegations against her, Alison-Madueke has remained out of reach of the Nigerian authorities. She fled the country in 2015 shortly after the end of President Goodluck Jonathan's administration, and is said to have been living in the United Kingdom ever since that time. All the Nigerian government's efforts to extradite her to face corruption charges at home have been unsuccessful. Alison-Madueke has denied all allegations of wrongdoing and even accused the Nigerian government of waging a political witch hunt against her. But is that true? Is this some political witch hunt, or was Alison really using Nigeria's oil wealth to build a generational wealth for herself? You see, before the Panama Papers revealed the demons under Alison-Madueke's masquerade, she had come under suspicion in 2009 when the Nigerian Senate indicted her and recommended her prosecution for transferring 1.2 billion naira into the private account of a toll company without due process and in breach of a concession agreement. Also in 2014, the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, 𝗪𝗪 Lamido, revealed information about a missing sum of money in the Federation account. According to a report, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) under Alison-Madueke failed to remit $20.4 billion to the Federation account between 2012 and 2013. 𝗪𝗪 claimed he was fired because of his revelations. In response, Alison-Madueke denied this allegation, stating that 𝗪𝗪 retaliated against her for not supporting his appointment as president of the African Development Bank. Yeah, seriously. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), which is Nigeria's anti-corruption agency, has been investigating Alison-Madueke and her alleged associates since 2015, especially Kola Aluko and Jide Omokorè. The agency has seized several properties and assets linked to them, including a $37.5 million property in Lagos belonging to Jide Omokorè, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. The Panama Papers exposed how the trio together carried out the largest oil money diversion fraud perpetrated by individuals in the history of Nigeria with the help of this Panamanian law firm 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗂𝗪, which gained popularity for creating offshore accounts for people willing to siphon and hide their money overseas. In 2015, Alison was finally arrested by the UK's National Crime Agency in London, along with 4 other people, on suspicion of bribery and corruption offences. But then, she was released hours later after handing over her passport to the authorities. Then in 2017, a Nigerian federal court seized 7.6 billion naira, that is $21 million, from bank accounts linked to Alison-Madueke. And then the US Justice Department's kleptocracy team seized $145 million worth of assets that had been purchased for the benefit of the former oil minister, including a $50 million apartment in New York, properties in California, and an $80 million yacht called the 𝗪𝗪𝗂𝗧𝘂𝗪. Yeah, it's such a beauty, but one allegedly purchased with stolen money. Most recently, the Pandora Papers leaked in 2021 accused Alison-Madueke of accepting $17 million in gifts and properties from 3 Nigerian oil businessmen in exchange for favors as part of her role as Federal Minister of Petroleum Resources. However, in all of these revelations, leaks and investigations, Alison-Madueke has consistently denied all allegations against her, and her case remains ongoing in several countries. Now, the question is, how much did 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗂𝗪 Jude 𝗂𝘃𝗧𝗂𝗏 and 𝗂𝘂𝘃𝗧𝗂𝗪 contribute to their conspiracy with Alison-Madueke? The answer is a lot, and that is what we're about to find out. The Panama Papers leak in 2015 brought to light the intricate web of global corruption and shady financial dealings of 𝗪𝗃𝘂𝗧𝘂𝗃𝗏, a Panama-based law firm with branches across the world. The firm had long been accused of facilitating money laundering, tax evasion, and other illegal activities for its clients, including several Nigerian oil ministers. Records by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists reveal that 𝗪𝗃𝘂𝗧𝘂𝗃𝗏 had worked for 3 former Nigerian oil ministers who used offshore companies to purchase luxury homes and boats in London. One of the ministers being Diezani Alison-Madueke, who allegedly embezzled millions of dollars from Nigerian State Oil Company during her tenure as petroleum minister. 𝗪𝗃𝘂𝗧𝘂𝗃𝗏 claimed that it only provided registered agent services to incorporate companies for its clients. But internal records showed that one of the clients, a Nigerian businessman, 𝗂𝘂𝘀𝗃𝗃𝗏, owned 4 companies in the British Virgin Islands, a notorious tax haven. The Panama Papers also revealed that 𝗪𝗃𝘂𝗧𝘂𝗃𝗏 had formed a corporation on behalf of Aluko for his luxury yacht, this Galactica Star, which was eventually frozen and ordered forfeited by a court due to the allegations of corruption. But 𝗪𝗃𝘂𝗧𝘂𝗃𝗏's involvement with Nigerian officials did not begin with Aluko. The firm had faced questions about its Nigerian customers since 2007, when it discovered that an offshore company was being used by a former advisor to Nigeria's president at the time, Olusegun Obasanjo, also a former Nigerian oil minister, Dan Etet, who was convicted of money laundering in France. He was also found to have signed a consulting agreement with an offshore company created by 𝗪𝗃𝘂𝗧𝘂𝗃𝗏 to negotiate the sale of oil blocks to China, a deal that never proceeded. Despite the mounting allegations and investigations, 𝗪𝗃𝘂𝗧𝘂𝗃𝗏 continued to provide services to its Nigerian clients until June 2015, when it received a demand from the British Virgin Islands Financial Investigation Agency to produce documents about one of Aluko's companies. The firm eventually cut ties with 3 of Aluko's 4 companies, but this was not before certifying a $30 million loan to 𝗁𝗄𝘃 Associates, another of Aluko's company, and helping it register a private jet. The firm finally closed business in 2018 due to the damage inflicted on its finances and reputation by the Panama Papers leak. I guess what goes around comes around. But now, who is this Aluko guy? Kolawole Aluko was not a very popular name in the press before the Diezani affairs. The petroleum and aviation mogul was accused of helping to cheat the Nigerian government out of nearly $1.8 billion in oil sales and has been linked to a number of high-profile scandals, most especially accounts recorded in the Panama Papers leak. Despite being listed in Forbes' 10 Nigerian millionaires you've never heard of in 2012, Aluko's lavish lifestyle has been well documented. He reportedly paid over $70 million for 4 homes in Santa Barbara and Beverly Hills and purchased $8.6 million apartment in Manhattan. But the source of his wealth has come under scrutiny with allegations that he conspired with others and paid bribes to Nigeria's former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Diezani Alison-Madueke, in exchange for lucrative oil contracts. The US Department of Justice revealed that Aluko and Olajide 𝗂𝘃𝗃𝗏, another defendant in this case, conspired to purchase real estate in London for Alison-Madueke and her family members, and they furnished them with luxury items at her direction. In return, Alison-Madueke would use her influence to direct a subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation to award contracts to companies owned by Aluko and 𝗂𝘃𝗃𝗏. According to the EFCC, who dragged the 3 allies to court, the companies were expected to finance the exploration and production of onshore oil and gas blocks, but failed to meet their obligations. despite being permitted to lift and sell over $1.5 billion worth of Nigerian crude oil. The Nigerian government took actions against 𝗪𝗪𝗂, freezing his assets and seizing his properties. A Lagos High Court ordered the listing of 𝗪𝗪𝗂's yacht along with property in London, 4 homes in California, 2 penthouses in Manhattan, and 1 in Dubai, 132 houses and apartments in Nigeria, and land in Canada and Switzerland. 𝗪𝗪𝗂 has attempted to reclaim some of these assets but has been unsuccessful thus far. Jude Omokore is another very important piece of the Alison puzzle. A businessman with interest in oil trading and exploration, marine, haulage services, steel, dredging engineering, and property development. He has been at the center of a high-profile legal battle spanning multiple countries. He is the founder and chairman of Energy Resources Group and has faced charges of conspiracy, money laundering, and fraud, among others. According to Forbes, Omokore is one of 10 Nigerian multimillionaires you've never heard of, and his Energy Resources Group is one of Nigeria's largest privately held conglomerates. However, despite his immense wealth and power, Omokore has been embroiled in legal controversies, including conspiracy to loot and fraud. The EFCC claimed that Omokore used his companies to secure lucrative contracts from the NNPC and then diverted these funds to Alison-Madueke and other government officials. Court documents filed by the US Justice Department between 2011 and 2015 also revealed that Omokore conspired with others to pay bribes to Alison-Madueke in exchange for her influence in steering lucrative oil contracts to his companies. Despite the serious allegations, Omokore denied any wrongdoing. However, the legal battle continued, and in February 2023, the Nigerian court discharged and acquitted Omokore and 2 of his firms, Atlantic Energy Bases Development Limited and Atlantic Energy Drilling Concepts Limited. All charges were dropped. The court held that the EFCC failed to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt and that Omokore had no case to answer. But while Omokore and his companies were cleared, his co-accused Victor Briggs and 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗿 were found guilty of collecting gifts from Omokore contrary to the laws guiding the conduct of public servants. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja passed a sentence of 2 million naira in fines on Briggs and 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗿. You see, this Diezani affairs shows just how much corruption has eaten deep into the Nigerian oil industry, and the steps being taken to combat this corruption by several governments. But with no one in jail, despite all of these allegations against them, one can only imagine what privileges this looted money has given to them. With loads of cash stashed in offshore banks, Alison-Madueke could buy her way through and escape the whip of justice. And she did just that with the Dominican Republic's diplomatic passport. You see, as the news of her possible arrest and prosecution reached its peak in 2015, Dominica's Prime Minister personally handed her a Dominican diplomatic passport, which potentially gave her immunity from arrest. Later on in 2019, an Al Jazeera's groundbreaking investigation into the illegal sale of diplomatic passports revealed Alison-Madueke might have bought diplomatic status from the Dominican Prime Minister with a $2.2 million house in New York. Both Alison-Madueke and the Prime Minister denied any connection with an offshore company that paid for that house. Though Alison-Madueke is being investigated for money laundering in the UK, the former chairman of the EFCC, Mr. Magu, faulted the UK's government for not doing enough to bring Alison-Madueke to justice. Despite his own vow to bring the former oil minister to the country, he also failed to do this. But he was not the only one who tried and failed. Assistant Inspector General of Police, Garba Baba Umar, the head of National Central Bureau of the International Criminal Police Organization known as Interpol, disclosed that the United Kingdom government turned down his request to extradite Alison-Madueke, and we can only wonder why. As the Panama Papers scandal has continued to reverberate around the world, some of its successful effects was the closure of Mossack Fonseca, the law firm which was at the center of the leak which shut down operations in 2018. However, for many Nigerians, as the investigation into the Panama Papers scandal continues, it remains blurry whether justice will ever be served. Because, as you know it, this is Nigeria. Thank you for watching this episode of Declassified right until the end. Your support means so much to me. As we continue to research and document these stories for generations to come, I want you to understand just how difficult and dangerous it is telling these stories. The purpose of this work we are doing on this channel is not to antagonize the government, nor is it to undermine any institution fighting hard to make our country prosper. I, for one, think it is imperative that we have these stories told, both in visual and written format, for generations to come. History, no matter how bad and sad the stories might be, is vital to the progress of any civilization. That is why I'm calling on you all that enjoy my work to support me in any way possible to make this work grow. Part of what I and my team need is funding to be able to expand our team of investigative journalists, writers, and editors. For this purpose, we have rolled out our website where you will be able to get access to a link on the website where you can donate to support the projects we are working on. I really appreciate your support, and I will continue to tell these stories with the help of my team. And with that said, check out this video showing up on your screen right now, and I'll see you inside.